Thanks for waiting up.
Yeah, sure, Nikki. Hey, who's the third wheel?
Doesn't matter. Darius made all these cars available to you. Pick one, whichever one you want.
Hey, if there's three, do I get one? I mean, I don't care which one, although I am partial to the one with the sweet rims.
Why don't you just make sure the tanks are filled?
That's great. I'm the monkey!
Pick one. Let's get this over with.
So originally I thought that I'm just gonna play a few games and then compare how they look, how they feel to their original self, but then I realized that it would not serve any real purpose because videos like that are already out there and you can look them up yourself. Instead of that, I'm gonna talk about a few games in particular, why modding changed how I look at those games, and then I'm gonna also put gameplay of them in the background so you can watch them if you're interested, or you can just alt-tab this video and just listen to my voice if you feel like it. Anyway, why is modding a good thing? Why is it important? I'm gonna mention 3 games in this video, and at the end I'm gonna tell that how I feel about the company behind them, how I feel about the games itself and the mods that you can download for them. Also, I'm gonna mention a few other games after the outside of my fields, but let's get down to the business. So the first game I'm gonna mention is Need for Speed. Need for Speed Most Wanted and Carbon in particular, because these 2 games were the ones that I grew up with. More particularly, I grew up with Need for Speed Carbon. I got that game for the 10th birthday of my life. That was a while ago, in 2007. And it took me years to actually finish the game because the CD itself, like the game itself, was broken for me. I could not progress further than the boss fights, or however it was called in the game. So I was stuck doing challenges, doing normal races, and I was hoping that I could get through the barrier at one day. A few years ago, I've managed to find a copy of the game that actually works well, and again, I tried the original CD because I have the original version of the game, and it did not work at all. And the only way I was able to finish the game was by downloading a save manager and finding saves for the game. Thankfully, there was one website where one guy would upload a save after each race. Like, he would go through the entire game and upload a save after each race, which meant that I could technically finish the game because I would use a car for the first section, beat the boss. If the game crashes, I'm switching to the next save. So thanks to that, I was able to actually finish the game from start to finish, but I needed that save manager. I needed a tool which allowed me to mod the saves so it actually works well with my game version. Without that save manager, I would not be able to finish the game. I would not be able to actually enjoy different parts of the game. I would not be able to, you guessed it, try out cars and races. I would not be able to fully enjoy the game because my copy was broken. And while I was there, I also looked at mods from the Need for Speed in the community. I was able to have different looks for the cars. I was able to have different cars entirely, and in itself I enjoyed it a lot. Still to this day, I have different car mods downloaded to the game, and recently I was able to play through the game without the save manager from start to finish, and yeah, it took about 5 hours without some of the in-game features, like for example the driver camera. When you overtake them or they overtake you, there's like a video playing about them taunting you or just screaming and stuff like that. I never really liked that, so I turned it off, and all behold, it was much easier to finish the game thanks to that. But modding was actually the reason I was able to finish that game, and without that I would not be able to actually remember as much of the game as I would did. I would still know what the ending was of the game because everyone from 2006 to this day still talks about the game and stuff like that. You still see reviews of the game, I'm not sure if you can actually buy the game to this like these days, but Need for Speed Carbon was always one thing that I loved. The game had a very good soundtrack. I feel like it had one of the best soundtracks of any racing game when it comes to the dynamic soundtrack, and by that I mean that the game would have different soundtrack for each type of race. Like if it was a race in a category, not category, in a part of the city that's ruled by tuner cars, then the race would be tuner themed. If it was in a muscle area, like muscle car area, then the soundtrack would be muscle car themed. And even when you tune cars, that theme carried over as well. Team races would have different soundtracks, and also the cup chases had different soundtrack as well. It was very well put together, and still to this day I can listen to these songs whenever I want to, and like not whenever I want to because I would have to extract the sound. This gives me an idea, by the way. Okay, so scratch that, but still to this day I love that game, and modding was a huge help to actually, like for me to actually finish the game and enjoy it to the full extent. The next game I will talk about is Skyrim. Now Skyrim was one of those games that I originally did not care about. It took me a few years to actually get my mind on to play the game, and even then I did not download the original version of the game. I actually downloaded a pirated version of the game. And it didn't take long for me to actually try out mods for the game. And thanks to the modding thing of the game, like the mods for it, I've put close to 400 hours into the pirated version of the game. When I since that, to redeem myself, I bought the game. I have an original version of the game, and I still love it. I think I have more than 500 hours in the Steam version of the game, which if you combine the two different versions, then I have close to 900, maybe possibly 1000 hours in this game. So I don't really have to tell you that modding was a huge part of that. Downloading different armor mods or weapon mods didn't really bother me. I didn't really care for that, but downloading quest mods and quality of life changes, like quality of life mods, these two things helped a lot for me to actually not just enjoy the game, but to come back to it. I have no clue how much space Skyrim holds up on my SSD, but I can tell you that one of the reasons that I bought a 480 gigabyte SSD was Skyrim. I bought an SSD just for Skyrim to mod it, and I don't have the special edition of the game. I have the old 32-bit version of the game, which is now have the Old Dream nickname to it, and still I love it. I love the game, I love the atmosphere, and alright, if you really need proof, then one of my favorite quest mods. Actually, I'm gonna mention two. The first one is the Forgotten City. The Forgotten City is a quest mod where you actually go back in time a few years to actually save people from extinction, if you can call that. And the mod was such a popular hit and such a great one that the creator of the mod not just won awards for it, but he is actually remaking the mod into an actual game, which supposedly comes out this year or maybe next year. I'm not sure, but I'm waiting for it, and I just can't help it. I love that mod. In general, I love time travel themed movies and games. One of my all-time favorite is Time Shift on the Xbox 360. It's one of those games that I actually bought back in the day. No, I did not buy it. I got it as a present, and I love it. And the other mod that I absolutely love, quest mod, is Rigmor of Bruma. It's a really well made quest mod for Skyrim, and I cannot stretch it enough how much I loved it. The voice acting was superb, the quest itself were very well made, the story of it was absolutely astonishing, and it gave me, how should I say it? There are very few quests in the base game that I can remember fondly, but when it comes to the quest mods, they are so much worth of your time. Like, they are very well made, most of them. And even the silly ones like Dragon Break Episode 1, which is another time travel mod. It's not the best. I give you that, but I still like it. It's fun to play it through, and it just like it. Yeah, it's well made. It's not the best. Okay, I get it, but I still like it, and it's another time travel stuff. So you can probably figure it out why I like it so much. Okay, so we talked about 2 games so far. The last one that I will talk about is the Grand Theft Auto series. Now, when I say series, oh boy. So let's just say this. Let me say this. I have nothing against people who mod GTA 5. GTA 5 in itself is a good game. I cannot really tell you much about how much modding GTA 5 changed the game for me, because there's only one thing that I used in the past years. So, for GTA 5, of course. And that was OpenIV. Now, OpenIV has one feature in it, which lets you, well, it basically removes a space limitation in the editor. So when you edit videos, or you just want to use the editor for taking screenshots and stuff like that, or use it as a photo mode, there's no limitation of about the camera placement. Now, in itself, it took me a long time to actually figure out that it was a thing, and I wasn't sure how well implemented it is, or what's the limitations. Like, how can I use that mode and not get banned? And yeah, that's the point when I will start to talk about the bad thing about modding. So the first game I talked about was Need for Speed. Still to this day, there are mods for any of the Need for Speed games. I've seen mods for Pro Street, I've seen mods for Undercover, I've seen mods for Carbon, Most Wanted, I've seen camera hacks for the 2010 Need for Speed Hot Pursuit, the 2012 Most Wanted. I haven't seen anything for The Run, to be honest. But point is, still to this day, there are mods for almost every Need for Speed game. I'm not sure how they are handled in multiplayer, if there are any limitations for them, because most of the time, when I look at the Need for Speed game, it's a single player game. I race against AI, I tune my car, I change how it looks, yada 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 yada. It's easy to get into, and if I want to take pictures, I use the photo mode. In Payback, I change the time of the day with the cinematic tool, and I apply NVIDIA Anvil effects. When it comes to Skyrim, again, it's a single player game, but there were attempts for multiplayer mods as well in the past. Skyrim is one of those examples where modding is just so, like, it's just skyrocketed, and everyone can create everything to the game, and they do. You just need to look at one of the most popular mod reviewer channels on YouTube, MXR Mods, and you can see how much the modding community changed in the past few years about Skyrim. And I feel like that one of the reasons that these days we don't really get a lot of high quality quest mods or map mods or followers or anything really for Skyrim mods is because of how terrible Fallout 76 was and how disappointing Fallout 4 was before that. But when it comes to GTA 5, I cannot stretch enough how pissed I was when they wanted to shut down OpenIV.
But on a serious note, mods have allowed to liven up the machinima community a lot more. Like, the possibilities have become endless because of it. The machinima community is also a community that has influenced a lot of people in buying the game. If there's one thing that gets shared a lot, it's machinimas and fan-created stuff. Rockstar themselves always has been in support of the machinima community, who are also using mods. There are so many examples on a newswire which just show that they're completely fine with it. Like, there's so many statements out there that they're fine with, people using single-player mods. To make it even worse, I think there has been a time where there were people that won cinematic contests using mods. I don't understand what exactly has triggered this whole thing. I mean, I know what it triggered it, because the statement that Rockstar has given was that Take-Two's action were not specifically targeted at single-player mods. Unfortunately, Open4 enables recent malicious mods that allow harassment of players and interfere with the GTA Online experience for everyone. We're working to figure out how we can continue to support the creative community without negatively impacting our players. Now, I completely understand the fact that they're trying to shut this tool down to prevent people from doing any harm in GTA Online, hacking and all the bullshit that's been going on since April. The funny thing is, people have, and I would know this myself as well, because I've just been told this. I don't have a lot of experience with mods, but I know one thing, that if you try to use single player mods and then enter online, you're receiving a message saying that it's simply not possible, which was also in the statement made by the Open 4 creator saying this is all bullshit. Hell, I'm 200% sure that 99% of the programmers that you have working at your company, Rockstar and Take-Two, are people who started with creating mods and learning the game the way that the same people are that are using these mods, like GTA Wise Guy, for example. That dude has studied all this stuff, and one of the reasons why he became so good at it and stuff like that and learned so much was because of Open 4, and it was because of his, mod creations. He created his own mods. He then made videos about them. You even supported him all this time, and it's just like, I don't understand this decision.
Cannot stretch it enough that how pissed I was when they actually wanted to shut down a modding tool for the game, because they thought that the tool would allow mods to change stuff in the multiplayer so people could use it to actually hack in the online. Now, there are multiple things that is wrong with this mindset. First off, all of the GTA games in the past, well, I'm not sure about the PSN ports and stuff like that, or PSP, I don't know how it's called. The Liberty City stories and Vice City stories. So I'm not sure about those games, but I do know that the main games like 3, Vice City, 4, 5, if you count the episodes from Liberty City 4 and 4, San Andreas, all of these games had mods in the past. All of them had different approach to them, but still to this day you can download mods for almost every game and play them. But when it comes to GTA 5, here's the thing. They actually wanted to shut down a tool which works for both GTA 5 and GTA 4, meaning that everyone who creates pictures, everyone who creates videos, everyone who creates missions, everyone who does anything related to the single player modding would be affected. I'm talking about people who use the police mod in the single player, because there were a few who actually followed and I quite like what they do. But if they would shut down that tool, then this would mean that I would not be able to create any cinematic stuff in the game. I would not be able to take pictures how I want to take, because I would be forced to work within a limited space, and I would not be able to see quality content from a dozen other people who spend hours upon hours just to create a video or a mod for the game, because that tool would be taken out. Now, I know what happened after that. They apologized, if I remember correctly, and OpenIV is still available. You can still use mods in the game, but for me, the way they approached modding in GTA 5 because of the online part of the game made me never wanting to do anything mod related in that game, because people were afraid of using mods, people were afraid of using anything mod related to the game. And I've heard from a lot of people that, oh yeah, we just hang out in private lobbies, so they cannot monetize, they cannot watch us, we are okay, we've been using this mod for a couple of months now, and guess what? They also got banned. So it is weird for me to just mention 3 different games and have a vastly different take on all of them. Most of the times, mods are harmless. Mods are most of the time created for free, and you can download them, and it's just an additional content to the game. And mods are essentially, I feel like that if you have mod support for your game, then you cannot really go wrong with it if you know how to handle it. And for example, kudos with their Assetto Corsa series. I kinda feel like that they missed the point. Like, don't get me wrong, ACC might be a really good game, and I might buy it when it's highly discounted, because I live in Hungary where our currency is dog shit. But what makes the first Assetto Corsa a much better experience than it is normally is the mods. Downloading different tracks, downloading different cars, or the soil mode, which actually gives nighttime to the game. Like, all of these 3 things that I mentioned just turns the game upside down and gives you a fresh perspective of everything, really. And guess what? The next Assetto Corsa does not have mod support. So are you turning on half of you? Like, with this, you actually close the door for half of your community with this move. Another great example that I want to mention about modding is the fact that you never really know how much difference can mods make. Recently I found a channel out of sheer luck, if you can call that, because I realized that I have a game at home which is one of the old school simulator games. The game is GT Legends. Now GT Legends has mods. You can download tracks, you can download cars, and what's interesting is that you can actually create your own championships. So what I actually found was someone who started a beautiful idea. I'm not sure if I remember correctly the name of the guy because it's very recent, but I will post his channel in the description. Basically, he creates his own championships in the game, and once an episode goes live, you can actually sign up as an AI driver because he can change the name of the drivers in the game for that specific championship, which means that if you watch his content, if you want to actually it's a simulated race against the creator of the video, and it's an actual championship in a way because you watch him race against the AI. The AI sometimes better, sometimes worse than him. It all depends on the track, it all depends on the car, it all depends on the skill and all these different factors. But thanks to modding, the guy is able to create something different and something that actually connects him with his viewers as a content creator. That's something that I'm still struggling to produce, and I'm doing YouTube since 2010. So modding can be a huge factor for a game. It can be just an addition to the game, or it can change the look of the game entirely. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Do check out that guy that I mentioned. Again, sorry for not remembering the name. I'm subbed to way too many people in the past few weeks. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to let me know. If you did not like it, also let me know. Have a good day or night. I'll be seeing you around.
One last thing left to do. I was compelled to give Vlad his gun back. One bullet at a time.
He's behind me! Hold him off! And give me a gun!
Shouldn't leave these lying around. I couldn't be fussy about addiction. Hello, old friend.
You've reached the voicemail of Senator Alfred Woden. Please leave a message.
You have 3 new messages.
Woden, Max Payne. We need to have a talk. You asked